Hey there, everybody. Can you see me out there? That's right, we're balling into the new week like some champions today, and we got a lot to talk about, including how about the ladies putting on a big show in the national championship games, plural, over the weekend, both Division I and Division II. Big news coming out of the area softball diamond, as well as Madison has a new career home run queen. We're going to hear from her a little bit later in the show. Major League Baseball, their season is also underway, so how did the Indians, or the Guardians, and the Reds do on opening weekend? We'll get you all filled in, plus the new rules. How does it seem to be working out in the majors? Hayden Gray and I will both share our opinions on that, plus how did I spend my Sunday, and what did Hayden do? We'll get to that and pick some national championship winners for the men's game coming up tonight, but I mentioned that Hayden Gray is in the building. Let's talk to him first, and hey there, hey, how you doing today?
I'm excellent. I was just happy to wear short sleeves today and not be shivering my teeth off. So it's a good day. Sun's shining, and finally we're getting past some of that weather we had last week.
And I noticed that you were eating some Juicy Burst gummy snacks when you came into the building today. I come from a family of gummy connoisseurs. How would you rate them? Is that a pretty good brand or variety pack?
It's not bad. They were actually bought as a mistake. My wife was just going for the regular and didn't know that these were, kind of like the Gushers type. They're pretty darn good. So I'm absolutely blanking. The package is right over there. I'm blanking on the name, but
yeah, I think I wrote down a Juicy Burst.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I guess the brand.
Let's find out. Adam's walking over. We'll find out eventually, but I would rank them up there pretty good. I guess they would be a slightly healthy alternative to Gushers. A little bit less sugar. What do we got? Black Forest, Juicy Burst. They're good.
So it sounds like it comes specifically from nature, from the Black Forest.
Yeah.
So
I
didn't know
for everyone out there.
Yeah, I didn't know it'd become that big a part of the beginning of the podcast, but hey, it's gummy season, man, and I know Adam Thompson, of course, he eats gummies at every single live stream that we're at, always has a lot in his bag, different kinds. Do you have a specific kind of gummy snack, just in general, that you feel like is top superior to all others?
Well, speaking of Adam, he got one that neither of us had ever tried before, and it was the Skittles gummies, and they're pretty good. because I love Skittles, but sometimes they're too chewy. These were just perfect.
How about those peach rings, though? You get down with those?
Yeah, I don't mind them. They're not my favorite. I might not like them as much as the next guy, but they're not bad.
Gushers, too. I'm glad that you brought those up. It probably would be the supreme king in my hierarchy of gummy snacks. Got to be way up there. The peach rings, though, something about that texture and just a little sugar coating. I don't know that that's not in my top 3. I think they might be. I'm going to have to think a little bit more about this. But let's start talking about some sports, shall we? We saw the highest scoring women's national championship game in history yesterday for the ladies. LSU and Iowa going toe-to-toe. We saw the first team ever top 100 points in a women's national championship game, and arguably the greatest scorer in the history of college basketball for the women. We got to see her on display, put up 30-plus points again, that being Caitlin Clark. So my first question for you, that they've been smashing some viewership records for this Final Four, their 3 games so far, far and away the best viewing audience that they've ever had on TV. How much of attention have you been paying to the women's basketball national championship this last week?
I definitely want to give it a decent amount of my attention because, as you mentioned, I think that it was a tournament loaded with a lot of talent this year. Another kind of incentive to me was Ohio State men's basketball, obviously not in the men's tournament this year, and their girls, I think, still kind of got neglected during the regular season with attention, so that got me watching as well. But you got so many names this year that, really stood out, and so I think that it got more of my attention this year than in previous years because it seemed like a more competitively balanced field.
Yeah, I think it was so well received because of the star power. You want to watch individual efforts that you've never seen before. Caitlin Clark was able to provide that. Almost 200 points in 6 games during the tournament. That was unbelievable to watch. So whether you love her or hate her, she definitely did things that we have not really seen in the women's game. I can't think of a comparison. Can you? Any girl that has a style of play similar to hers?
I can't. I'll always fall back to how just the green light that she has to shoot from anywhere on the court, and more often than not makes it. I can't think of anyone with that style.
Sabrina Ionescu kind of was from that mold. I remember Breanna Stewart several years ago with Connecticut. She couldn't shoot the 3 with the type of consistency that you're seeing from Caitlin Clark here, but she was another dominant force no matter where she was on the floor. But I do think that young lady right there, a lot of conversation on Twitter about, could she be a transcendent type of player? Do you feel like we're in the midst of watching the beginning of something that could become, maybe the best of all time? Like when you saw the first beginnings of like a LeBron James career, of a Magic Johnson career, something like that, it just looked a little bit different. You feel like that's what this is?
I think she has a legitimate chance to be. She's performed at these big levels and these big stages consistently, time in and time out. And when that time comes that she's done at college and ready to head on to the pros, there's not as many. There's not as lengthy of a list of just stud after stud after stud athlete in the WNBA as it would compare to the NBA. So I think she has the ability to, once her collegiate career is over, to head to the pros and make a huge difference a little bit quicker than some people can in the NBA.
3.4 million people watched Iowa defeat the defending champion in South Carolina. They said that was definitely the biggest audience ever for a women's basketball game. And actually, they said it even did better than any totals for an ESPN NBA game so far this season. Do these numbers surprise you, or did you feel like there was growing interest that kind of worked themselves up to this NCAA Final Four for the ladies?
I definitely think there was growing interest, just because even within circles of people that I may follow on social media or such, that I feel like I saw more people just in general talking about it or giving it more attention than I've seen in previous years before. So from that standpoint, I do think there was a growing interest, but it's still, I'm not going to lie, it still surprised me a little bit, just because first for everything do kind of take you by a little bit of a surprise. But I'm glad to see that people are realizing that the style of women's college basketball over these last few years, can be just as entertaining of a product as men's.
Yeah, almost 200 combined points in the game.
Yeah.
I missed
People
the
on
first
offense.
half, actually. And I saw the halftime score when we got home, and I was like, wow, these girls are not wasting any time. They are really getting after it. So I think the game has changed. It definitely caught my attention. I'm not afraid to say on record and on camera that I haven't really scheduled out in my day to watch a women's Final Four. I watched every game during the Final Four, all 3 of them, at least in some capacity, and was entertained by all of it. I thought that it was a fantastic tournament. I think that this is great for women's basketball, and I saw another thing today that broke on the Twitter, that the average price for the championship game for the women actually slightly higher than the men for tonight's game. So that one actually did shock me to hear that they not only did they sell out, but high ticket prices.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit before, and it was one of those comparisons where, yeah, typically on the men's side, you'd see it would be probably triple, quadruple the price that we were seeing for this. But, yeah, this has got to be kind of one of those first milestones. I know that it's not the 2 most known teams playing in the men's game tonight, but still, just in general, sometimes it seems to fall that it's way higher. So, yeah, that's got to be another first milestone.
Kim Mulkey and LSU, what are your thoughts on the way that they handle themselves as a team throughout this Final Four? They're very brash. They're not afraid to be characters. Is this something that you like and you think is great for women's basketball?
It's tough. I'm kind of split down the middle on certain different parts of it. Only because not every moment do I feel maybe it was handled in the right time or certain situations. But overall, I don't mind it as much from the standpoint that that's one of those other things that people kind of, as a viewer at home, look forward to. So I think that's maybe one of the things, that storyline between how they've kind of come about things and then, how they went back and forth with Clark, which we'll talk about. I think those storylines kind of sparked people to want to watch, too, to see if anything would happen. So I think there's good and bad. I think as long as it doesn't take over and affect things in a negative way that's taking away from the game at all times, sure. But, I don't mind a little bit of the swagger.
No, I think it's great. Yeah, that aspect of it. How about the fashion? What do you think about Kim Mulkey's outfits on the sideline? Because I got to be honest, I feel like they can take it up to a new range that men just simply can't. So I got to applaud her big time for some of those fashion choices. And I don't think it did distract from the game. I just thought that it was another cool, unique element that you don't get to see with the men.
Dude, absolutely. A lot of her outfits and a lot of her interviews, too. I think her outfits kind of symbolize the spunk that she has as a human being as well, and her energy, because I think they go really well together. But yeah, those were phenomenal. And yeah, I don't think that that's possible at any other level. I don't know how she can continue to keep it up at that level either.
I was surprised that actually she didn't get teched up, though, in yesterday's game. Well, what would she have had to do? Did she have to have a chainsaw in her back pocket and take a ref's limb? Like, she was really, I thought, a little bit obnoxious at times, and earned and warranted getting a technical foul, and she never did. And then there was a lot of conversation about Caitlin Clark, who just grabbed the ball and threw it behind her, and she got one. So the officiating, maybe the worst part of the national championship game, is that fair to you? Was that one of your takeaways?
I did. I heard a lot of complaints, and that's common. The human race complains a lot about officiating across all sports, but
we can't help it.
I did. I saw a lot that said that had to be, and of course that's always the cliche. Oh, that was the worst of all time. But there was a lot of people who thought that was such a poorly officiated national championship just because of the stage they're on.
But I think a lot of the headlines, obviously, they're being dominated by Angel Reese today and Caitlin Clark and kind of her motions towards her in the closing seconds of the game, where she came up and then she mocked her. She kept doing this to her. She kept pointing at her finger, and it felt to me in real time like a really bad look. But I've been watching media all day, and I would say overwhelmingly that she's being supported and defended. I just want to show you that's what Caitlin Clark did. Watch how fast this is. Okay, two motions. I don't feel like what Angel Reese did is the same. So there was a lot of debate about, is this a race thing? Oh, the white girl can do it, but then when the black girl does it, it's bad and it's poor taste. She chased after her, and tried to get in her face. So I did think that it was really bad sportsmanship, to be honest, Hayden. I'm definitely cool with girls trash talking during the game. I think that's fantastic. This had nothing to do with basketball to me, so I actually have a different take than what I saw on ESPN all day, with people coming to her aid and saying that's just who she is, and just because she's a young African-American woman, I feel like she's getting a black eye. It was bad sportsmanship. But would you agree with that, or were you kind of okay with her taking out a little bit of what she said was pent-up anger from seeing that done against Louisville?
See, that's one of the moments where it's not where I did talk about where, I don't even know. It's hard. I get that in that it's not even easy for us to understand the flood of emotions that you may be trying to go through right then.
Good point.
So I will say that. And I did at least mention to you a little bit, which is a whole deeper rooted conversation itself. I feel like it's getting slightly more attention, a little bit elevated and maybe a little over dramatized since it is women's basketball, and there hasn't been this much of an attention and a spotlight on it as compared to years past. And so I think from that standpoint that the whole thing maybe to a certain extent gets a little bit blown out of proportion, but I do think that it was a situation where I don't think they're comparable. I don't think if her sole defense was because of what Clark did, I think that this went over the top and past that and then some. So it's a difficult one, but yeah, it's one of those where it's like, I'm not saying that it was the most awesome thing that happened, but I'm also not celebrating it, I guess.
I understand. It became such a big talking point after the game, and I personally feel rightfully so. Didn't feel like it was necessary, at least in the fashion. Tone it down a little bit. If you want to give her one of these, point at your ring real quick, that's cool, and I'm with it. It felt like she stalked her a little bit too much, like a lion out in the Sahara, just trying to get their prey, and the unapologetic nature of her, Kim Mulkey, and the whole team, I'm definitely okay with that. Just because they're women doesn't mean that they can't have that attitude. I love all of that within the actual game. If you want to taunt somebody in the game, I'm more about that than this particular situation. I thought it was a bummer for her for being the most outstanding player, that I think this is going to be more of her legacy than being a baller on the floor. I thought that she did herself a disservice.
And it's not like totally different scenarios, and so it's hard to maybe compare. But just one thing I thought of too was earlier in the tournament. I'm blanking on the two teams in the men's tournament, but the team that was way better seeded up against a 15 or 16 seed, the dunk at the end. I feel like that draws at least some similarities from the standpoint of the situations that was towards the end of this game when the game's already decided, and then that too. So maybe just sportsmanship in general. But yeah, I think that could be a comparison.
All right, well, let's not dwell on it too much. Everyone's got their opinion, and I'm curious to hear yours out there. So if you're watching today's broadcast, drop us a comment down here on the Facebook and the YouTube and let us know. Do you feel like that's more of the storyline, or was it actually Angel Reese's play in the Final Four because she was the best player outside of Caitlin Clark, of course? And I wouldn't have been above them giving her the most outstanding player for the tournament, Caitlin Clark. If they would have done that, I don't think anybody would have had a gripe with it because she was obviously the most outstanding player. But moving on to the Division II level, for the third time in program history, how about Fly Eagles Fly, an undefeated national championship season for Ashland University as they cap off a 78-67 victory against Minnesota Duluth. My first question, Hayden, would just be, how cool is it having this particular team, arguably a dynasty in the making here, right in our own backyard? Ashland, Ohio is a hotbed now for women's championship basketball. They've been doing it for almost going on 2 decades strong.
Absolutely. I mean, ever since I've grown up, it's been a known fact that, yes, the women's program at Ashland is phenomenal. And I think what gets me the most excited, too, which I know it's getting a little bit ahead of the point right now, but just the fact that they are so in close in proximity to us, that we know some of the players or have seen some of these players on the team now playing high school. We know a few others that are going to be attending there. So yeah, it's just it's a great story, and so cool to have such a great program so close to us.
And what is really phenomenal, too, is that they don't really go outside of the Buckeye State. You look up and down their roster, I think they only have 2 players outside of the state of Ohio that are actually competing on the team. So it truly is like a a home born and bred type of a team, and they've been able to do this for quite a number of years in a row, getting some of the top talent in the state of Ohio, kids that I think maybe even have the potential to play at the Division I level. The culture is just so good, and the winning under Carrie Pickens, before her Robin Freilich, and it's just continued on. And I just think it's so cool that they've been able to do this. And not only do they do it the right way. They have awesome values. Every girl on the team, super nice, generous with their time out in the community. So, I mean, I don't want to sit here and just keep gushing over and over, but they did just win a national championship, and just thought that it was really special that it's a collection of kids from, like you said, pretty much right here in our own backyard. Pretty phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw it again, drawing on a parallel in the men's tournament this year. You know, what was the team that Coach Tobin Anderson had a bunch of Division II players come up and play with him at this new school this year?
Yep.
I think it just goes to show people forget how talented you still have to be to play at any collegiate level division. And so the fact that they went 37-0 again and pulled this off and had those moments in both the semifinal game and the final game where they really pulled away, and you started to not question whether this was going to be. I know the final score was a little bit closer, but they put full confidence in you as a viewer. So this skill and this accomplishment, definitely something to be celebrated, no matter whether it's Division I or Division II.
Yeah, I hope when they do come back home, they got to have some parties planned, obviously, here in Ashland to be celebrated. Yeah, we're looking it up right now. I remember having a conversation, it was early on in the year too, where they went to like a holiday tournament or something, and I remember that they had to play Drury, who was really highly ranked. They were both undefeated at the time, and they beat them in overtime. And without going back and looking at their schedule, I wonder if games like that really help propel them and get them over the top, because they needed OT. I don't think they were tested much the rest of the season, other than against teams like Grand Valley State, obviously, who's a ginormous program, probably should be a Division I. So, yeah, big congratulations to Ashland University, and just wanted to make sure that we paid them their due respect here on the show. I was at an AAU basketball tournament for my daughter on Saturday, and I'm telling you, there was a bunch of people with their phones out that were watching the game, so I was able to keep an eye within about 4 phone distances away from me. Everybody just trying to keep up with the game. So I think the interest in our area for them, it was sky high. It seems like this is a collective roster of kids that are just really well respected in the community, very similar to when they won it like 6 or 7 years ago. So the train just keeps continuing, and they got some young players on the team, Hayden, so we may see the dynasty continue to keep rolling here as the seasons roll along.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, because, I mean, 2 of the notable names that most people that watch here would know is obviously Sophie Neese from Shelby, who graduated last season, was on the team this season, and then Corey Vermilia, who was on Loudonville this past season, will be joining them next year. So I'm not saying either of them may not even be to that point yet where they'll be playing major minutes, but we look at those as the top player on our area teams, and then you're just accumulating that talent. So it goes to show you that, yeah, they might be able to just go ahead and maintain this level of play.
Yeah, I hope they do. Obviously, it'd be awesome to see that train continue. And then there's been some debate and stuff. Robin Freilich, who was the coach of the last national championship, went to Bowling Green State University in just 3 years, turned them from a bottom feeder to MAC champions, and then they made that, obviously, that historic run just now in the women's NIT tournament. She just got hired by Michigan State, so there's been some buzz and some thoughts. Maybe Carrie Pickens next in line for that Bowling Green State job. How cool would that lineage be to see that cycle continue, where it goes with, you know, kind of the prodigy player who now is the first ever to win a national championship in D2 as a player, an assistant, and a head coach.
That's right.
Follow where her previous head coach was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a win-win for for all 3 schools involved. None of
Makes
them
sense.
Well, technically Bowling Green or Michigan State are at the same division, but still, no one's in each other's conferences. There's not much division crossover, a great coach's pipeline from college to college, so that would be really interesting.
Indeed. So one last shout out to the Eagles. Hopefully we can catch you out in public. Got a big handshake for you, maybe even a hug, and yeah, good stuff. Good stuff bringing the championship back to Ohio, another one for the trophy case. All right, let's switch gears now and let's talk about some area softball because we got our Travis Berardi. He is out and about at a big-time game today, probably the best one that we have in the area. Ontario and Madison going head-to-head. Just one loss between these two schools. And Travis had a chance to catch up with Tim Nicewander, the head coach of the Rams, before the game, along with the new home run queen, the career leader now for the history of the great Madison program, Bree Bowles. So we'll throw it out over to Madison Township now with Travis Berardi. Take it away, bro.
Got the glasses on, even though he wears his sunglasses at night probably anyway. And the shorts. I got to be wearing shorts today, too. Hey, it's a great day for shorts. It's a good first day for me wearing them. But, Coach, you guys are off to a really good start. 3-0. You knocked off Lexington in a rematch of district semifinalists. Just how are you guys feeling right now? I know you guys have some high expectations this season.
3-0 is 3-0. It's early in the season, so we have not played perfect by any means. So we've got things to fix. The kids understand that. They know what we've done wrong and what we need to go out and do better. And we're going to continue to work and do that. We don't have any conference games this week. We had to make those. We had to reschedule those because West Holmes is out of town this week. So we're going to concentrate on tonight against Ontario, and then we'll go back into the practice realm for the next couple of days and get better at the things we need to get better at and work some things out. And hopefully we just continue to hit the ground running. But we're going to have our hands full today, that's for sure.
Yeah, you guys have Ontario coming up. Ontario, another one of those favorites in your district. But how important is it to have this big non-conference schedule to get you guys ready for, the end of the stretch run, end of the year, and then into the tournament?
Honestly, in my opinion, and you probably get a different answer from different coaches, the fact that it's April 3rd, I don't think it's very important at all. I think if this was a game that was being played March 3rd or May 3rd, that would be a different story. But we're not going to see them again if we see them until the middle to the end of May. A lot of things are going to change between now and then with both of us. So all this really is, as far as I'm concerned, is it's a test against a really good team. To measure ourselves and see where we're at and continue to do things and see what we have to come back and do to get better and to go into league play that way.
I know we're going to be talking to your two main seniors on the squad, but are there any players worth looking for this year? Any players that you think are going to step out above everybody, above the rest?
Well, you've got the two seniors you're going to talk to, but Hope Barrett's off to a really good start. Our shortstop, she's our third senior. Kylie Ryder, our third baseman's off to a really good start. Emily Nolan, our center fielder. All those kids are, I'm not going to throw any numbers out because I want people to know, but they're hitting pretty well. And defensively, they're playing really well. Our first two games of the year, we were error-free across the board. So that's the biggest thing that I look at early in the season. Do we have focus? Are we able to keep our heads down? Are we able to do the things defensively that we need to do? Because if we play defense, I think Layla in the circle, who's done really well, she's only given up 2 runs all year. That's not true, 6 runs all year. Anyway, her in the circle, if we play defense behind her, we've got a shot against anybody. So, she moves the ball really well and changes speeds really well. And, we can't expect her to strike everybody out. So we're going to have to make, probably 12, 14 plays a night behind her. And if we can do that, we'll be fine.
And now let's talk about your seniors. I mean, Olivia, your team leader, she's shown out the last couple of years as your backstock. What can you just say about her and the progress she's come from freshman year to now as being your main senior on the squad?
I don't know that I have a main senior. I think all 3 of those kids are pretty equal in terms of things that they bring to the table. The biggest thing with Liv is mentally. She has progressed a lot. She's matured a lot. A lot of things as a youngster would affect her negatively. And a lot of times there was negative reaction, and I think we've grown out of that a lot. And that's helped her immensely to be able to focus on the next at bat and the next pitch. And she's really come a long way. And as far as just pure talent, she hits crap out of the ball. So if we can keep her head on straight, that's something that we're going to need. And with Bree hitting in front of her, she's going to have the opportunity to drive in some runs.
And speaking of Bree, she is the now home run queen here at Madison. Just what does she bring to the table? Not only her, her power, but she's one of those players that pitchers are afraid to face.
I'll be honest, when I get in the cage, I'm afraid to face her, and I've got a net in front of me. So when she hits the ball, she hits it on the button most of the time, and when she does, it's impressive. People talk about her power, but the other side of that is even when she's not hitting home runs, she smokes the ball places. She's also patient. She'll take a walk. She's a good base runner, and she's a really good defensive player. We're playing her at second base, which is not her best position, but it's best for us. And last Saturday over at Shelby, the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour, and she caught 2 pop-ups behind first base that I don't know how she got to those and managed to stay underneath them. So, hey,
look at that.
So, she brings a lot to the table. It's the home runs get the headlines, but she does a lot of things that help you win games that a lot of people don't see.
All right, well, let's get to talking to them. First off, before we get to that, keys to your game today against Ontario. What needs to be done to get a victory today?
We got to throw quality strikes. We got to hit quality strikes. We got to play defense.
All right, and I'll have a highlight of that coming up. But let's talk to the home run queen, Miss Bree Bowles, as she comes over here. Appreciate you, Coach. Maybe she'll hit one for us today here. Welcome to the OH.Report video podcast, Miss Bowles.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
All right. Here.
I don't want to.
You got to get yourself in the limelight. I mean, come on. How's it feel to be the home run queen now at Madison, the most career home runs in school history?
It feels pretty great. I'm really excited to keep getting more home runs so that it's out of reach for everybody else.
Hey, that's the thought process. Just how have you progressed from freshman year till now, being able to just anything you see, you're going to hit it hard?
I definitely feel like I've matured a lot more mentally and physically, and my coaches have helped out with a lot. My teammates, we've all just been pretty much helping each other
out. 2 years ago, you guys made a regional championship. Last year, you had a tough out in the district. What's it going to take this year to maybe move on further than that and give yourself a chance at competing for state?
I think as long as we work together as a team, I know in a way it's an individual sport, but as long as we're all doing our own part and we're all working together as a team and communicating, I think we go pretty far.
And today, you guys are taking on Ontario, a team that you're going to be fighting with for districts this year. What do you got to do to knock them off and keep things rolling here, go to 4-0?
We just got to stay good on defense and keep hitting how we're hitting.
I'm about to talk to Olivia Schultz as well, your former senior teammate. Just what can you say about her and her, I guess, feistiness? She's one of those vocal leaders on your squad, isn't she?
Yeah. Without Liv, I feel like we wouldn't be really put together. She always tells us when we need to go, when we need to, and she's always a big communicator on the team.
All right, and any shout outs you want to give anybody? Say hello out here in the OH.Report world.
To my mom and my family.
Okay, and tell them to watch tonight. We'll have a highlight of that. Okay. All right, Olivia. Saying no right now, but you're not gonna come to me. I'll come to you. Keep it on. You keep that on. She was just warming up her catcher, but Olivia, say hello to the OH.Report video podcast. Now, I know Coach said before the season that you were very excited to get another interview in, so this is your chance. You guys 3-0 right now. What has been the key to your success early on? You beat Lexington, a team that knocked you off in the districts last year, and now, another non-conference victory as well. But what's been the key to your success this year?
I mean, so far right now, we've really just taken everything inning by inning. We don't think too far ahead, and we pretty much are really good at just wiping what happened before and moving on to the next play, which is a lot better. We've grown so much since last year with that, and just being able to move on from mistakes or a bad at bat or somebody dropping a fly ball or making an error. So I think we're just doing really well with that right now, having a clear mind, going into the next play, and just taking everything one step at a time.
You see Ontario starting to warm up behind me. What's it going to take to get the victory today? Because Ontario, they're another team that's going to be competing for this district championship in Division II.
I just think it's going to be we have to go one play at a time, one at bat at a time. That's all it's really going to take to win today. We can't think too far ahead if we're behind or if we have a huge lead. We just got to take everything one step at a time.
Now, offensively, you're one of the power hitters, but how nice is it having the home run queen at Madison High School ahead of you to make sure, if they pitch around her, they got to face you?
It's pretty nice because you're not really as stressed out, and I know with her in front of me, if they pitch around her, they're going to pitch to me, and I'm pretty confident in myself and what I can do, so I don't really have much to worry about. I feel like it's nice having her.
You guys have had experience 2 years ago, regional championship. Last year, you had expectations to go further, but it was a tough out. Just what do you want to do this year to maybe get further, maybe get to Akron?
I think this year we just got to keep it all together. We look really good right now. We stay as a team. We do everything as a team. And I think with the team we have right now, we have loads of talent, and everybody works their butt off every day. And every day in practice, it's like you're competing with somebody who could take your job at any moment. So I think that's a good competition to have between each other, and it pushes us to be better.
All right, now I know usually you wear eye black here for games, but you're wearing green glitter. When has this started to be a fad? Because I'm used to the eye black. It's shiny.
It kind of like I saw it on TikTok, and then I brought it to my travel ball team, and we all just kind of went from there. And then I introduced it to these guys, and they all love it. So we all do it now.
You probably don't know who the Ultimate Warrior is, do you? That wrestler had kind of that lady. It's all right. Finally, any shout outs you want to give here live on the OH.Report?
I don't think
anybody. So. I mean,
shout out to my dad, because he helps me all the time and works with me and doesn't give up on me.
All right, and I'll say shout out to Coach Nicewander, too, for coaching you so well. All right, thank you very much. Good luck today.
Go Rams.
Go Rams. All right, there you have it, folks.
Long before she was in this program.
Long before, huh?
Long before. We've been doing the glitter thing for at least 10 years. So don't let her take credit for that.
You wear the glitter at all?
I do not wear the glitter. I don't do glitter.
Okay.
I hate glitter.
You hate glitter.
I hate glitter.
So you don't mind if they're hitting the ball, though. They're winning games.
They can do. Hey, listen, they do whatever they want to feel good, because if they feel good, they play better. So I don't care. I'm not wearing glitter, no.
Okay. There, you've heard it first. Tim Nicewander, not a fan of glitter unless they're winning games.
Right.
But that'll do it here from Madison High School. Both teams starting to get warmed up, so I'm going to get ready for this highlight today. But I'm going to throw it back to you folks in the studio, and I'll see you guys later.
I mean, glitter in the sky, glitter in the eyes. How about these Lady Rams and Tim Nicewander getting it rocking and rolling? Glitter, though, I'm also not a fan. That stuff is so hard to get out of just any space. It doesn't matter if it's like a hardwood or a carpet. Glitter, it just seems like it sticks to everything and it doesn't go anywhere, Hayden.
Yeah, I would need to see the application process, because it seems like they've got, I mean, what are you doing? Are you just kind of toss in and the residual stays on? I don't know. I would have to see it applied.
It might be a sticker type of thing. Olivia looked like she had it like in a perfect pattern. Like it was almost even an M. I don't know if that was planned. But yeah, the Ultimate Warrior, like she was going to get that reference.
We got it.
Madison, they haven't actually won the OCC. I didn't know this until I did a little research today, because they've been such a good program. It seems like they've been consistently really good under Tim Nicewander. 10 years. Since the last one.
Has it been like Lexington and Ashland, or
it's been a lot of that? Yeah, Ashland's kind of been running the show. I think Worcester's also been in there as well. So maybe this could be the year that it's shaping up for the Lady Rams. I think with the talent that they have with Bree, obviously Olivia, those two, that 1-2 punch, it might even make them the front runner and the top contender, considering Ashland, the defending champ. They lost a lot from a season ago.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the most noticeable name that comes to my mind is Brandon Raymer. They don't have her pitching anymore, and we know how important pitching is in both baseball and softball in high school. So, yeah, things could be open.
And actually, Mount Vernon, too, I think actually had a really long run in the OCC where they were kind of dominating things. So we'll see if it ends up being Madison's year. And Bree Bowles, first-team All-OCC last year. I think she's probably an early favorite for Player of the Year in the conference. Listening to Tim talk about not her offense, which she's known for, she's in the record books for that, but a couple of plays that she made over at first base where he said, I just don't even know how she comes up with those balls. If you can marry those two together, that's a pretty special talent they got.
Yeah, because something we've been talking about traditionally the first week and a half, 2 weeks of baseball and softball, horrible weather. And when games still do play, we saw firsthand on Saturday how rough it can make. So a few of those plays can be the absolute difference makers. I mean, if you don't catch those two, I don't know what the situations were like during the game, but that can be the difference between runs and not. So, yeah, when you toss that together with the obvious abilities that she has on offense, you got to give yourself a good player.
Everybody loves the long ball. If you can hit home runs, you're going to be a fan favorite. I know the Bree Bowles definitely is that. Olivia Schultz got some pretty nice pops of her game too, so going to be interesting to see. Make sure that you check out the highlight tonight, Ontario versus Madison. According to Jake Furr, the two top teams in Richland County going head-to-head early in the season. And as I look outside, it's a little bit cloudy, but better than last week, any day that we had pretty much, right?
Absolutely. I know, there's a little bit of clouds out there now, but I think we both agree. We're both wearing short sleeves. Most of us are wearing short sleeves. Travis got his shorts on.
Yeah, always.
Absolutely.
If the sun's out, you can guarantee Travis is going to have on those khakis.
Yeah.
For sure. Major League Baseball, they also got their season started this last week, and you and I know that neither of us really tuned in a bunch. However, the new rule changes from what I'm seeing and reading collectively out there on the Twitter sphere, it seems like it's really going well so far. We're just a few days in, but just what are your initial thoughts on the rule change? I think that games are right now, they're averaging about 26 minutes faster. That's huge.
That is. I think the statistic I was reading this morning was, I believe, yesterday's Guardians-Mariners matchup came in at 2 hours and 6 minutes, or 2 hours and 7 minutes. So it is the quickest game registered this season under the rule changes. So I think the biggest thing, obviously, as a viewer, is you still have to be intrigued with the actual action of the event, but the excuse of, it just drags on and on at this point, that element's kind of gone. So, I mean, if you have a game coming in right around 2 hours, there's not really a basketball or football game that's not going to go that long in comparison. So I do think from that standpoint that, absolutely, it's made a good change right off here in this first, I don't even think a full week yet of baseball.
The dead time's been cut out from what I saw. I didn't watch much of opening week, but I did watch some preseason games. And while there was some backlash about some of the calls that the umpires made, it did feel like they were prompt. They were after it. It's more watchable. It's more digestible to me as a guy that's not a huge baseball guy. So I'm all in for this. And the numbers are also indicating lots of stolen bases. So I think those are always exciting plays when you get guys moving fast around the base path. You're going to get the ball thrown out there, trying to get them out. So I think the Major League Baseball, while some of the old-timers and probably even Travis is like, it takes away a little bit of the character and the historic nature of the game where we do take our time and we ease into things. I think for the modern-day fan like you and I, Hayden, in 2023, baseball's on to something.
Yeah, because when you look at what is so popular about, even in comparison in terms of speed, the NBA would be a quicker sport than the NFL, but people like their action. They like it quick. Attention spans aren't very long. We're simple-minded people. But I always thought it was going to be one of those where, the changes that would need to be made is something that we've seen implemented this year, or just no maybe clocks, but the game itself would be shortened by 1 or 2 innings. So I'll be curious to see. My only concern, and I don't even know that much to the extent of baseball injuries, but I don't know if there would be any correlation between maybe increased injury to a pitcher or a batter. That might be a silly statement, and I just don't know what I'm talking about. I'd be curious to see if over the years, if we stick with this, if there be any correlation. You don't want it to feel so sped up to where it is goofy, but it seems like, especially for just implementing it, they found a good kind of like a sweet spot.
I would think, and we don't have the data yet,
Right.
We'll see at the end of the season, that for the defense, that this would probably be better, that there's not so much time where you can get cold or be standing stagnant for a while. You got to be on top of your game while you're out there in the field of play the entire time. So I think it's fabulous, and I think the start for the Guardians, great. After losing in Shane Bieber's start on opening day, 3 straight wins against the Mariners, and last year they were picked to finish last or second to last in the AL Central and near the bottom of the AL. So the fact that they made the playoffs as a big surprise team, did that higher your expectations? Did you feel like coming into the season now that we feel like the Tribe should be a playoff contender?
I won't try and go crazy. From my minimal knowledge of how often I follow and check in on any moves or transactions, I definitely think that the end of last year carrying over raised my expectation because, as you mentioned, they were not set to have very high standards last year.
Not at all.
Not many at all of the so-called experts thought that they would get anywhere where they near where they did. So from that standpoint, I think probably Guardians fans expect a little bit more out of them this year. And from what I've been able to know, I think they've maintained a crucial amount of big pieces from last year, to my knowledge. So I think that I would be curious to see where they were picked to finish this year because I haven't looked at that yet. But you got to think it's got to be higher this year.
Yeah, a lot of the quote-unquote experts definitely think they're going to be number 1 or number 2 in the AL Central. And, Savali, Bieber, Quantrill, they're all back. No Tristan McKenzie at the beginning of the year. But that's 4 really solid starters for the Tribe. That carries you throughout the course of a long summer. So, in Tito I trust. I think he's the best manager in baseball. I think he's proven now that it doesn't matter what roster you give him. He will assemble it in a way that works for the team, and that's why I feel like probably the AL Central, the championships, again, within the grasp in Cleveland. It's really exciting to be a fan of the team at this time. Thank you, Terry Francona, for giving us.
Yeah, and it feels like,
what
just
a gift.
The whole kind of vibe of the Guardians that they've been doing stuff to, like, please their fans, their audience, their viewers, because I know that there's even more renovations coming to the stadium, and it's been the past few years just constant change to improve the experience there. But also, I just think that overall, like you said, it's better. Trying to find the right way to phrase it. Ever since that whole, how far they made it in the World Series, it kind of felt like they were starting to drop off again. But I think that it didn't get that far to enter another long, cold spell of bad baseball that I think that the morale of this team has gotten them back to a place where, they're going to be very competitive again this year.
So both of us were Guardians fans. That's who we're cheering for, and we want them to have big things. The Cincinnati Reds, on the other half, 2-1 over the weekend against the Pirates. Travis's Pirates
team, yeah.
Took a couple of wins off of them. I feel like people and communities are just better when the sports teams are better. I'm curious your take on this. Do you root for the Reds to also be good, to give some happiness to the southern part of the state, or the fact that we've got that whole Ohio Battlegrounds rivalry going between them, even though they're in the National League and we're in the American League? Do you root ill will on them, or do you want them to get some nice wins so that everyone's just kind of smiling all summer?
It's an interesting thing because in my life, have you ever met a Reds fan? I just don't know.
They're hard to come by because they've been so bad. I don't feel like they've finished top 3 in the NL Central for at least a decade. It's been a long time.
So I guess I wouldn't wish, super ill will. I know there is a battle when they would play in a series, and I would probably give my rooting interest to the Guardians, but to be honest, they're not really on my mind at many times because there's not many out in society. We don't see many 2 reminders in this part of the state that they exist.
They definitely need to sell some more merchandise because you're right. At least their fans, that they're not showcasing it on themselves out in public, that it's a priority to know that the Reds are their favorite baseball team. Whereas the Guardians, since they've made the change, they've got quite a few guys that are out there that are representing the brand, and they're taking to the new name, which at first, remember all the backlash about going from the Indians to the Guardians? I feel like that hasn't the dust settled on that quickly.
I think so. I think that, I think everyone kind of realized at the end of the day, our team's not changing much. They're still going to play at the same place, play the same sport. Yeah. You've got something.
Yeah, my fax just came in for me, a handwritten fax that says, we want all Ohio teams to be good for the money spent at the stadiums. And I think that that's a really good point, because look at the ticket prices, and while baseball's a little bit lower, I think, because there are so many more opportunities to get out there, like in the NBA, how high it is now to go see a Cleveland Cavaliers game. So I think you do just root for not everyone to have fun, but for successful teams when you go and try to support them, unlike my past experiences with the Browns. So I think that if they can pick it up, man, Cleveland might be, and Andy Jardy and I had talked about this in the past, we might be in the midst of a really exciting time for sports collectively for that city.
You're not wrong because, I don't have Travis here to pinch me for saying something like this, but it's no surprise that through all levels, the Browns are at least more promising. They're a better ticket to buy. We'll put it that way.
On paper, we'll see.
Yeah, right, on paper. Right, but let's even beyond the skill, that fan base, they've always gone no matter what, so that one you could already say is good. The Cavs making the playoffs for the first time without LeBron in forever, and then the Indians with a lot of high hopes, so it is one of those magical times of the year that maybe we'll see a home game for all 3. It rarely ever happens, but it's possible.
Magic. That would be magic. If the Browns hosted a playoff game, people are going to lose their minds. I don't know if the city's ready for that, but that's a long ways.
Yeah, we got a lot of
now.
time. Yeah.
Let's get to the NFL draft first, shall we? But speaking of Sundays, when obviously we'd be playing in the 1 p.m. time slot because we don't get primetime games just yet, until they turn it around. But that's kind of our one day off, if you will, at the OH.Report, where we don't schedule events and we like to get out and enjoy any number of activities. So Sunday Fun Day is what we always call it at my house. It's the one day of the week where I actually get to remember my kids' names. We get to hang out and actually pal around and do some stuff. So before I share what I did yesterday, which was nothing really exciting, let's dive into your day. And you, the viewers out there, tell us too in the comment section, how do you spend your Sunday Fun Days?
Yeah, so we chatted it up a little bit, but since it was at least nice and not strong winds yesterday, was able to get out in the sunshine in the city of Shelby. Has a new disc golf course. If anyone did not know before, I do enjoy playing disc golf. And they have a new 18-hole course in which I didn't think was possible anywhere within the city limits, but they pulled it off over at the park in Shelby. So it was a little mushy, but my friends and I played with 2 close friends of mine. Our review was good. It's a great course if you haven't played disc golf much. So I would encourage people to go check it out. It's not mapped out the best yet because they don't have cement tees yet. But they're getting there. I guess a bunch of the actual holes themselves were donated from a community that was going to have a course, and it didn't happen, I don't believe. So someone's loss was Shelby's gain, but I went out and played some disc golf. There's lots of courses I think people forget. You can play in a lot of different places here.
Where else? Where else do you know of around here?
I believe it's called the Woodsman over at Ontario at Marshall Park. There's a course. There's one in Galleon. And these are all free activities. Of course, you need to get some disc. It would be very hard to play with a traditional plastic frisbee, but you can go out and get cheap disc golf disc, I think for like $9 or something.
And there's a few different ones. I played back, I'm going to date myself, but I think it was kind of newer, 2005, 2006 when I was in college. We would pack around 3 different discs, a driver, mid-range, and then a putter. Is that typically what's acceptable?
Yeah. It's definitely been a sport that someone who's terrible at the sport of actual golf, have found enjoyment in this. And, I mean, there's really no differences other than how you're obviously delivering your object, but all the terminology is the same. And there's also a course by the Clear Fork Reservoir.
That's right. So right here within a few towns, multiple different courses, 100% free.
Yeah.
If you get a nice day. How crowded was it out there? Were you having to deal with other people on the course?
We saw one larger group of 5 people, but we went around 3 o'clock and it wasn't too packed of actual people playing disc golf. There was a lot of people at the park, but.
And how many clubs do you carry in your little? Did you have a carrying case or something?
Yeah, so I have a book bag that's built for disc golf. That's bigger than my actual book bag, but it's got a big software. I currently have 9 in there. 9.
Mm-hmm. Woo. That's wow.
No variation.
So it's really grown a lot since I last stepped on a course. So yeah. Back in the day, you were balling if you just had the 3.
Yeah.
So you've really stepped up your game. So you can buy them in full sets then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you can buy individual or full. This is probably the time of the year. They probably put big displays out at a lot of our sporting goods outfitters. So I would encourage people to try it.
There you go, guys. If you're looking for some fun, free entertainment, that's what's different, I guess, about disc golf versus regular golf. It's getting more and more expensive here in the area. I was hanging out a couple of weekends ago with a pack of people that really are into golf in the area, and they were talking about some of the skyrocketing prices. Not on all the golf courses around here in Richland County, but quite a few of them have jacked up their prices here lately. So it makes things like that a little bit more interesting to me, knowing that I can one-time purchase, have my set of discs in my fancy little book bag, and I can get out there and have a good time.
Absolutely. What did you do with your Sunday, Brian?
Well, I usually like to get in my longest workout of the week on Sundays. I always look forward to that. But on this particular day yesterday, maybe I did get in my longest workout, but my daughter had an AAU basketball tournament, a 2-day event. The first day was at the Ashland Fieldhouse. At least her games were behind Ashland High School, the football field, which big shout out to our guys over at Simonson Construction. I have not been in that building, since it's been 100% done,
Nice.
it's phenomenal. Multiple courts, all really well taken care of. They've got the track up top that you can jog around, or for parents to watch from the top balcony on. They got a weight room over there, wrestling mats. Scott Valentine, I saw his office over there. So it's a really, really well done, nice building. But after watching some games over there, I started thinking to myself, man, I'd really like to hoop it up. So took my kids and we went over to Maple Lake Park in Mansfield, and I was probably 3 times older than anybody else at the court, but got in a few good games with some of the neighborhood kids out there. Definitely dominated down in the post, double-doubles all the time, tons of rebounds, and just worked on my shot. It was the first time outside of going to Northmore practice, you and I and Travis, a month and a half ago, that I actually worked on my basketball game. And so I'm thinking you can see me at a park near you soon with some competition that's a little bit more my size. So that was pretty much it. We actually got home in the third quarter of the women's national championship game. I did not realize that it was such an early start, because we were talking
that was kind of odd.
Let's get home, let's get showered up and watch this game. And then we come in, and it was already, I was like, dude, it's 80 to 65 already. We've missed a lot.
Yeah, that was kind of odd timing. I didn't know of anything else that would have majorly been competing with it, but I don't know. Maybe they were going for the whole Sunday matinee vibe.
Hey, it didn't impact the ratings, of course. And actually, I think that's considered prime time on
that kind of
Sunday.
is, right, because the NBA, I guess, would be a parallel. They usually give their big games that time slot.
Yeah, like the 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and then the 7 o'clock window for the NBA. Let's segue now into tonight, man. It's a little bit later start for the gentlemen. Monday night, they've always had the national championship game on a Monday. I think it's 9:15 tip-off tonight. So we've got number 4, UConn. They've just kind of been throttling everybody so far. Double-digit victories all the way into the championship against San Diego State, who had to hit a clutch, crazy game winner to even get themselves to where they're playing for the national championship. So, where's your interest level? Give me on a scale of 1 to 10 here. How much are you really looking forward to tonight's game?
I'm definitely. I just blanked. 1 to 10, did you say? 1 to 10?
Give me a little 10-point sliding scale here.
Let's go 8. I feel like that's a good spot because I think it is intriguing with two teams that you at least know them generally if you're a fan of the sport. Sure. But they're not blue bloods. They haven't been here for a while.
I think you could say UConn's
that's
a
true.
Fringe.
They're on. Yeah, they are.
They've
fringe.
won it 4 times.
That's true.
Aztecs, this is their first. I think their first ever trip to the national championship, right? I know they've never won.
Yeah. No. So I mean, I guess for the sake of this year specifically, I don't think we expected these two teams to be here. So that gets me excited because my bracket's busted already. It's been. So that's not a concern.
That's a big club of busted brackets this year.
I did find out yesterday that somehow by default that even though my bracket was terrible, it was the best of the terrible brackets. So I can't lose. So I won first in my group. So that makes me even more interested to watch because I got nothing to lose here.
The best of the worst.
Right. So that excites me, and it's just sports, I guess. So I always get excited for sports. I don't know who I would take, though. It's tough because it sounds such an easy answer to say, well, San Diego State had to hit that clutch shot against a team that shouldn't have been there, per se, but that also you don't want to take away the skill level of FAU, but still. Fair. UConn, they've kind of been obliterating teams, so I guess I would take the Huskies if I had to.
Here's what it's looking like on the betting lines now. UConn's actually -7 right now. Ooh. So that means they're a big favorite in Las Vegas.
I was going to say, I didn't know if that was a good minus to be. Or
yeah, well, it means
it's not bad.
If you're a Connecticut fan, it's boding well for you heading into the game because it's a no-going company that they just been thrashing the competition. Like I said, all double-digit wins so far in the tournament that I don't think anybody saw this coming from UConn. We knew they were a good program. They didn't even get to the championship in the Big East. They got knocked out in the semifinals. So when you watch them in the tournament, and it's like Travis actually asked me today, we were riding in the car together, he's like, how did they get a number 4 seed? And I was like, dude, I wasn't thinking about UConn basketball during the regular season as being some juggernaut. And I don't know how many losses they have on the year, probably, 7 or 8? They're a very beatable team until all of a sudden, now they're not.
Yeah, they turned it on.
So, yeah, the over-under on this one, 132. I think the Aztecs are a really fun bet, and I know you're not into this yet, but they're plus 275, so that means a $10 bet for you would almost triple it if they were to win.
Okay.
So UConn 21-6 against the spread in their last 27 tournament games. That also is another one where you're like, if you just bet them the -7, odds are they're going to come through. So this is a really intriguing one to me. Would you say that you're more excited for this than the women's championship game? I almost felt like I was more excited to get home and watch the girls. I was really disappointed when I got home and I was like, we've missed 3/4 of the game.
Yeah, I think I would be lying to say that, yeah, I am more excited. Not anything against either. I think somehow I kind of suffered that March Madness where once we got towards the end, I've actually kind of burned out of it a little bit. So I guess I wasn't through the roof for either. But, yeah, I think it was kind of, I don't know, yesterday might have been it for me. I haven't been, I would say if I miss it tonight, I wouldn't be. I get
down, really vault them to new levels. But I'm still pretty excited for this game tonight. I don't even know if I'm an 8. I'm probably like a solid 6.5, though, as far as my excitement levels go.
Why did I give myself an 8?
That's okay. It's okay. It's going to be a fun game, for sure. A number 4 seed and a number 5 seed. But let's go ahead and make some picks. What are you feeling from what you've seen from both of these teams? Break it down for me. Give me a mini script of how you see it all playing out.
Well, I think it would be, of course, you're always rooting for something to be somewhat close. We don't want to get to the national championship and have overly lopsided scores where there's no need to watch the second half. So hopefully, if it would stick to script, I would have something be close, come down to the final moments. Of course, final shots are always magical, and hasn't UConn been a part of several of those? So I don't know. Maybe things are close and UConn wins it on a spectacular shot somewhere under 30 seconds.
And they haven't had to do that much this year, obviously, because of all of the lopsided games they've been playing in the tournament. So I see the Huskies getting out to a nice early spurt. Probably in the first 10 minutes, double-digit lead. Probably going to maintain that somewhere around that neighborhood going into the half. But then in the second half,
it's gonna be
from what I've seen from those Aztecs, I've seen slowly they chip away. They don't falter when they get down. Matter of fact, that's their comfort zone. That's where they like to be, is down just a little bit. And I think they come back. They start evening things out. Couple of big shots here or there down the stretch, and the Aztecs reign supreme for the first time in the history of their program. They put up the banner, and the Huskies, they walk away just a little bit short after redisplaying that UConn, I think, is one of the Blue Bloods, a brand name across all of college basketball. Out there on the East Coast, they're definitely a team that you'll see a lot of that merch. Unlike the Reds here in Ohio, you'll see a lot of Huskies merch out there in Connecticut and beyond. So I got the Aztecs. He's got the Huskies. What say you, fans? Who are you leaning with here tonight? Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to try to get me a ring. But I got to get out of here, man. I got things to go do. So, Hayden, how are you going to be taking in the game tonight? Are you going to be chilling at the crib, kind of a low-key thing, or you got some plans?
Yeah, I guess I'll find I'm without internet because of the storm still over the weekend. So if I want to watch the game, I've got to go to somewhere. So we'll see. Stay tuned. I guess.
All right. Well, I got the 85-incher at my house.
That's true.
I got to go take some kids to some practices, I guess. But after I pick them up, I'm gonna be back at the crib. Maybe we get some gluten-free snacks going. We'll figure it all out. But it feels like it's the right time to step away. So after what I hope was a great show, I'd like to announce my official retirement from today's episode. See you next time.